If we were to ask a health professional, what are the key elements in living a long life, a life of longevity? So I imagine we would hear perhaps a schmooze about diet and health and exercise and maybe staying in touch with loved ones. At the beginning of this week's Parsha, we meet a Jewish leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, 120 years, and he's about to embark on his last 30 days on this earth. And most of us perhaps would have a different last step than Moshe Rabbeinu does. If you remember at the end of Bamidbar, Moshe appoints a successor, Yeshua. We know he's not going to go into Eretz Israel. There's no more wars to fight, no more miracles to make, nothing really to daven for the Jewish people anymore. And what does he do the last 30 days? He basically writes a book, so to speak, Sefer Devarim. It's his book, Moshe Rabbeinu. He becomes the teacher. And the key elements of his long life is a life of purpose. He's the teacher. He's the ultimate teacher, teaching the Jewish people, giving them a vision of what it's like to be an Am Kodesh, to live a life as a holy people and stay connected to Shechina, to Hashem, the Jewish people and the Jewish land. This week's Shabbos Chazain, speaking of visions, this is the ultimate vision. The Jewish people every year before Tisha B'Av, the day that we lament, that we mourn, we sit Shiva, so to speak, for one day, and we remember the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, the temple over 2,000 years ago. The Medrash asks, what's the harshest way to receive a prophecy? We know that a prophet can get a nevuah, a prophecy, through a dream, oftentimes. Could be a voice, could be a feeling. Comes out that the harshest way to get a prophecy is through a vision, to see it firsthand. Yeshayahu, as you read in the Haftorah, saw firsthand the Chorban Beis Hamikdash. He saw the Chorban, the destruction. In our generation, on Tisha B'Av, oftentimes we'll hear about the Holocaust, people that actually saw the destruction, saw the death camps, the concentration camps, saw division, saw tears, people torn away from their families. Just a year ago, we all experienced that chazain of 3 young soldiers kidnapped and killed in Eretz Israel as the whole nation came together and davened and cried. We had a chazain, we had a vision of what it's like to have Jewish unity just for that moment. And oftentimes we get that chazain, that vision, when oftentimes we lose that vision. Hashem gives us, reminds us, so to speak, and puts that picture on the wall for all of us to reconnect to. It says, oh yeah, that's the way we're supposed to be. Tisha B'Av is a time of year where we reflect on Beis Hamikdash. Beis Hamikdash doesn't, for a lot of us, doesn't necessarily mean destruction of the temple. It's hard for a lot of us to connect to what that really means. But all of the tsaros, all of the pain, all of the division that we have today really stems from that, whether we understand that or not. And it's a day to try to think about avos chinam, to think about how do we build love in our life, how do we change our lashon from lashon hara to lashon tov, how do we go from an ayin ra to an ayin tov, a good eye, how do we judge someone favorably, how do we end machlokas and division, and how do we build community, how do we find in our hearts to do more acts of chesed. Charity begins at home with our wives, with our children, with our communities, and not get so caught up with what we think is our own successes and all of our desires and passions, and to take pause in a long, hot summer day where we don't eat or drink and think about ways that we can build in our hearts that Beis Hamikdash again. And perhaps with that vision, it'll stay with us so that it'll be the last time that we lament on the floor, and soon that we'll be all in Yerushalayim celebrating with Mashiach and the Kohanim, the Beis Hamikdash, the Bayis Shlishi. Good Shabbos.